Guys, what's going on? This has to be the most not talked about trait of autism, and everybody I know I speak to experiences it, and let's talk about it. Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Aspie World. My name is Dan. What is going on? I have autism and ADHD, so I wanted to do this video today. There are traits of autism and ADHD that we all understand and we all kind of know, and that narrative, that understanding of like, you know, we don't like eye contact, we have difficulty socializing, we have issues staying on task, and we have difficulties focusing, and all the everything in between. And I understand all that, but I also understand that there are traits and things that occur that we don't always talk about, and we don't always associate as being like, hey, this is part of the autism spectrum, this is something that's happened because I'm autistic. And it came to my attention recently about this because my partner was like, we were on the phone. Okay, so picture this, okay? It's New Year's Eve, 2025. And me and my partner, we were in separate countries this New Year's. So I was in Wales, she was in Canada. And so we're on FaceTime and we're just watching TV. I'm like, oh man, it's cold in this house. It's super cold. So I like got up and I was like, let me check my thermostat, see what temperature it is. I go to the thermostat and the temperature is 7 degrees Celsius, which is like, what's that in Fahrenheit? Alexa, what's 7 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
7 degrees Celsius is 44.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
So you can see that it was very, very cold. Now, this is the middle of December. It was snowing outside. And I'm like, well, the end of December, snowing outside. I'm like, I'm cold. I was wearing a t-shirt and ripped jeans. I think these jeans, actually, these ripped jeans. So I'm wearing a t-shirt and ripped jeans. And I'm like, that is interesting. But why didn't I feel the cold until the moment that it was just like overwhelming cold? I mean, like as soon as it dropped down below like 19, 18 degrees Celsius, you kind of have that inclination that it was cold. Now, this leads me on to something else. Not realizing how cold it was also reminded me and reminded my partner that I also feel heat too intensely. And what I mean by that is if I have to do any task, like say I have to do a DIY project, build something, make something, anything that involves any physical activity, my body temperature just increases exponentially and I just can't control it. I'm just like, I get hot, like I burn up all the time. And so having known that it isn't my thyroid, but also knowing that if I have to do DIY, I have to do anything like physical, I can't do it with clothes on. I have to do it in my underpants. I know it sounds really weird. So it used to be really awkward. People used to come around to the house and be like, why is Dan putting a shelf up in his underpants? Because I get too hot. And then the irritation from clothes that made me more hot or even hotter would then irritate me. Now, I realize this is like, I can't regulate my body temperature. Why? Because I guess it's a sensory input that I can't regulate due to autism sensory processing disorder. Oh man, that's a good cup of tea. I love the mug. Why is this apparent? Well, it's apparent because we talk about autism sensory processing disorder. We know that a lot of people have issues with like sight and sounds and maybe smells and different things like textures and clothing and things like that. But what we never think about, what we don't incorporate typically, is that people on the autism spectrum who have sensory processing disorder will obviously have some kind of issue processing temperatures. Now, it could be that it's the temperature of food, right? And so for me, I can't have anything tomato-based if it is cold. It has to be warm, right? And so I did a whole video on this. It's really interesting, this whole topic of like food sensitivities with hot and cold and different textures and stuff. But for now, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say that like, and I'll try and leave that one in this video here somewhere. I'll leave a link for that video. But in terms of the senses disrupted for heat and temperature, before I get into the rest of that, guys, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, and it is by Chonga. Now, Chonga is a really cool make. They are a kind of like a toy plushie make, but they're like no other. This is a weighted, realistic looking cat, right? But what's really cool about this is that there is a on switch at the bottom here, and when you turn this thing on, and it charges by USB-C, by the way, it actually breathes. This thing breathes. Like it kind of like, it has a noise as well, like a purring sound, and it breathes, and it's very heavy. And I tell you something, my kids love this. They love having this sitting on them because it helps them. And for people with anxiety, it's so nice to have a plushie or something that you can just hold that is like weighted enough so that it helps you with anxiety. Now, I'd highly recommend checking this out. I have a discount code for you. So if you go to the link in my description or the link in my bio, you can get your very own Chonga realistic looking cat plushie for therapy basically for people with anxiety, autism, ADHD. These are really cool. I did a review years ago of one. I had one of the red pandas that they had on their store, and that was amazing. My kids loved that also, but I love this. Highly recommend checking it out. So please check out Chonga. They're amazing, and I'd love to know your thoughts on that plushie. So the biggest thing to me is that, like, what do we do about it? How can we regulate our temperature? And the thing is, because we can't regulate our temperature, because temperature regulation, it can't happen if you're suffering with this type of sensory processing disorder. Like, where do we go? What do we do? So there's a few rules of thumb here. And a couple of people have asked me this. I posted about it on Instagram. And if you don't already follow me on Instagram, you can definitely check it out at the Aspie World. People were asking me, like, hey, what if my kid doesn't feel the cold and goes outside and the temperature is really, really cold? Kind of like me in the house. Well, there's a rule of thumb. Set a reminder of, like, well, look, if I'm going to go outside and play in the snow, I need a coat, right? And if I'm going to stay indoors, I want to check the temperature and make sure it doesn't drop below 19. So it's kind of like having like a fail-safe safety net. Like, hey, if my temperature is going to, if the outside temperature is going to be below, I don't know, 12 degrees, then I'm definitely going to need a jacket. But if it goes like below 9, then you're going to need a coat. You're going to need to stay warm, okay? And just take the coat with you. Even though the kid or the person or you in this, scenario, I don't know, you may not feel the cold, but it's there, it's prevalent, and it may impact you in a way that's negative, and you don't want that. Now, in terms of everything else, how do we regulate it? Well, we can't. We just have to kind of accept the fact that we can't regulate temperature. And it doesn't mean that we're weird, doesn't mean we're odd. It just means that it's part of the condition that we have that gives us this inability to regulate temperature. Now, I'd highly recommend, setting up these fail-safe safety nets and putting them in place so that, you don't lose, your health over it, or you don't lose kind of like, days over it. Because the thing is, it will impact, because it may seem like, oh, temperature's like an interesting thing. Yeah. But it will actually impact your ability to work, to be around people, if you get sick, if you can't be around people, right? But know your limits and try and implement those accordingly. Now, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do offer a mentorship program if you're interested. Now, I don't know if it's something that you'd be into, but if you are interested in it, there'll be a link down in the description down below. Or just email me, dan@theaspieworld.com, and say, Dan, I'm interested in your mentorship. Now, this is a one-on-one program. It's super exclusive. It is an investment on your behalf. So it's something that you kind of should consider if you want to do this. So email me or click the link down below if you're watching on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.